Is it possible to avoid using some, any, much, many, a few, and a little? If you have problems knowing your some from your any, your few from your little, your countable from uncountable nouns, stick around because I'm going to show you an English grammar hack that means you'll never have to worry about English quantifiers again.
My name is Fergal and I'm an English language and English communications tutor at Do English. Every day I teach English learners from all over the world. I've helped government ministers, top executives from well-known international companies, international sports stars and students just like you improve their English communication skills. Every day in my lessons my students ask me lots of questions about English, and in these Do English videos I'll share the most interesting, unusual and most often asked questions with you. Do English is the world's friendliest online language school. We have real English teachers in real online classrooms helping students just like you improve their English from the comfort of their home, office or in fact anywhere there's a good internet connection. After this lesson, go to our website www.do-english.es and sign up for a free lesson. When you do, you'll get to meet one of our great teachers and they will introduce you to our structured learning system which will help you improve your English quickly. Now, back to the lesson.
A few weeks ago, I was teaching a Russian politician English here in London. Now, I can't tell you who he was, but he is a man in a hurry. And he didn't like to learn grammar, which was unfortunate for me because his grammar wasn't very good and sometimes he made mistakes. When we came to review some, any, much, many and so on, he got very frustrated and he said to me, "English, why is it so complicated? Why can't it be simple just like Russian?" What could I say? I told him it was all Shakespeare's fault, and that before Shakespeare made the language more interesting, English was definitely a simple language. Now, I'm not sure if it was Shakespeare who decided to separate our nouns into countable and uncountable, but in English we do, and it's really not that difficult to identify if a noun is a countable noun or an uncountable noun. If you can physically count the thing, such as pens, people, cars and so on, then it's a countable noun. And if you can't physically count it, such as water, air, gossip and so on, it's an uncountable noun. When we make positive sentences, we use the word some, and we don't have to worry if the noun is countable or uncountable. There are some people in the room. There is some water in the fridge. We use the word any when we want to make negative sentences for both countable and uncountable nouns. There aren't any people in the room. There isn't any water in the fridge. We also use the word any when we make questions with countable and uncountable nouns. Are there any people in the room? Is there any water in the fridge? Do you remember earlier on I said that we use the word some with countable and uncountable nouns only in positive sentences? Well, that's not quite true because there is an exception to the rule. This is English after all. When you know the answer to the question you're going to ask is yes, then you can use some in the question. So for example, you know there are people in the room and you ask your friend, are there some people in the room? You know the answer is yes. Or you know there's water in the fridge. So you ask your friend the question, is there some water in the fridge? Again, you know the answer is yes. When we're talking about small quantities in positive sentences, then we can use a few and a little, but we must know if the noun is countable or uncountable. We use a few with countable nouns. There are a few people in the room, and we use a little with uncountable nouns. There's a little water in the fridge. Then there's much and many. We use many with countable nouns in questions and negatives. How many people are in the room? There aren't many people in the room. And we use much for uncountable nouns in questions and negatives. How much water is in the fridge? There isn't much water in the fridge. Remember, it's your choice if you want to use much, many, or any in your questions and negatives. There's no rule as to when you should use one of those particular quantifiers. Now, you're probably sitting there saying, Fergal, you promised us a grammar hack, not a lesson in quantifiers. What did you tell that Russian politician? Well, I told him 3 simple words. You can use a lot of with countable and uncountable nouns in positives, questions, and negative statements. The only thing that you have to remember is to put the verb to be in the correct form before a lot of. Countable nouns. Positive. There are a lot of people in the room. Question. Are there a lot of people in the room? Negative. There aren't a lot of people in the room. Uncountable nouns. Positive. There is a lot of water in the fridge. Question. Is there a lot of water in the fridge? Negative. There isn't a lot of water in the fridge. A lot of. It certainly saves a lot of time trying to remember the difference between countable and uncountable nouns. Some, any, much, many, and so on. Thank you for spending some of your precious time learning English with us. Remember to check back soon for more English lessons. Bye for now.